This is Game Spotlight, and we are playing a game on Void Thrashing with 3 mutators. This is a Brutal +6 game. We have Propagators, we have Just Die, and we have Avenger. What a nice, lovely, relaxing, non-stressful set of mutators we have here. Propagators, Just Die. Yes, the Propagators do respawn. Avenger. Yes, the Propagator gives out Avenger stacks. The Propagators do get Avenger stacks. So this is going to be just, all in all, a very nasty set of mutators. Very, very difficult to handle, but two really good commanders for this mutation. We have Abathur and we have Tychus. Let's have a look at the mastery allocation. We have Tychus attack speed, Tri-Outlaw mastery, medevac cooldown. Pretty much all ideal selections here. This one's basically a matter of preference. We have 30 points into the Toxic Nest damage, 30 points into the Symbiote ability, and then we have 10 and 20 into the Toxic Nest charge, more of evolution rate mastery as well. Again, this one is a matter of preference, and yeah, these commanders, basically these players do know what they are doing, obviously, because they are playing a Brutal +6 game. Random rock slapping champions will not pick Brutal +6 because they would not really be able to complete it. The players have a very, very good idea on how to handle difficult mutations. And I'm actually glad to see people submitting stuff for Game Spotlight, and this game was a lot of fun to watch. A very nice high octane game. So if you do have any of your Brutal plus difficulty runs that are really close, either a loss or a victory, losses are also accepted, then feel free to submit them. We can see that we have the first Spore Crawler here, and it'll be moving forward to try and draw aggro some of Amon's army. And they do end up picking off that one sneaky Toxic Nest already planned there. And now you can see why Just Die gets very, very annoying for Abathur. But he has managed to get some of his biomass drops here available. And I think I should probably switch to... Yeah, you know what? Let me switch over to Abathur's point of view. And that way you can actually see what Abathur is seeing here. You can see where the biomass balls are. I think it will be a bit more useful than just anything else. And the first Void Thrasher has spawned. So the Void Thrasher has been spawned because the number of enemy units in the area around the Void Thrasher has dropped below a certain number, and now the first Propagator has started to make its way towards his commander's bases. You see that they're dealing with a raiding party composition, so the raiding party is actually not that bad. It's a reasonably decent composition. It is a ground kind of focused composition, but there are going to be some sort of air units like battlecruisers in the later stages of the game, and overall not too bad. And once Spore Crawler decides to get uprooted and move out of the way because that Propagator is on the way now, and these commanders will have to try and deal with it. It is just very nice micro back, star step, try and move away, and you can see here the Propagator does end up respawning, and will be moving right into the middle of Abathur's Toxic Nest here, and will end up dying. So then is the first of several Propagators on this mission completely cleared, and Tychus now is going to be moving forward. His Share Grenade is on cooldown, but let me see how he's actually luring his stuff here into Abathur's Toxic Nests. And the whole goal here is to just try and get some value for Abathur, and getting Abathur his first Brutalist out. Abathur needs the first Brutalist before he can actually do anything useful in the game. The roaches by themselves, not really very useful. And you can see now enough biomass has been collected by that first roach. It's now a Brutalist, and now Abathur will actually be able to do stuff in the game. We can see that we have an expansion over here. The rocks have not been cleared yet. Abathur looks like they are going to be one-basing. You have to be a little bit careful of the army. There is a Propagator right on the northern side here. Crooked Sam already in position, drops a demolition charge, and the demolition charge will end up one-shotting the Propagator. So now it needs to be killed off because Just Die is active again. A little bit too close for comfort there on that Brutalist, but he does end up killing off that Propagator. And now Abathur will be moving forward and just cleaning up some of these enemy structures to make sure they do not get randomly blindsided by a Propagator that spawns. Because Propagators do spawn from enemy structures. So as long as you all clear a mission, you can stop Propagators from spawning, which will be really, really good. Unfortunately, on this mission, you cannot all clear this mission before the mission ends, because you usually have to clear the stuff here right at the back. Exactly what I was going to be talking about is that enemy base at the back line is behind the Void Thrasher spawn. So usually, if you can clear that base, it means that you're basically done and you would be completing the mission anyway. So now the next Propagator has spawned from that back line, which is also okay, but it will be causing some problems towards the later stages of the game as the commanders start pushing into the into Amon's bases and clearing out those structures. It means all the propagators will be coming up from the central side of the map. Abathur has already cleared out his expansion as well. It looks like they want to go for the longer game here, which is also okay. Crooked Sam is already ready and in position. And Crooked Sam is actually a really good choice here when it comes to dealing with the propagator. His ability to stun the propagator with his demolition charge, using the Mobius Restraint Matrix upgrade, I think it's called, is very, very useful when it comes to dealing with propagators in general. Tychus is a good choice here, especially if you can micro them separately and move them back and forth around the map. You can actually use Crooked Sam to just solo handle a propagator, so that's also really nice. These commanders do want to start pushing through now, and Tychus will start pushing and applying a little bit of pressure to Amon's base. Not too much, because he does not really want to end up dying. He does not really have any of his healers yet, so he's going to need a healer before he can actually be a little bit more aggressive in his play. There's a siege tank and the back line here. Abathur is already going to start pushing into this area. And notice how Abathur has started to push into that base as soon as they saw the propagator spawn. You do not want to be pushing into a base when a propagator is about to spawn, because if the propagator spawns right underneath you from, say, a missile turret, you will basically lose your entire army. So very, very important to not push into enemy bases when the propagator is about to spawn, otherwise bad stuff can happen. And more often than not, you will find that the propagator will spawn underneath your face. And if you are not really, if you do not believe that, ask CTG. He is well aware the propagators are out to get him, and Blizzard has added some extra code in the game. Make sure that the player name is CG, spawn a propagator underneath his army to make sure he loses his run and he loses his videos, so he has to restart all from the beginning again. And yeah, we have actually a very nice lucky propagator spawn. Again, it spawned from that back base here, so it's gonna be a while. Abathur has already put down a bunch of toxic nests, so these toxic nests will end up killing off that propagator eventually, or at least weakening the propagator, while Ally tries to push in to this enemy base. He's using Rattlesnake right now to start clearing, and we have a Brutalisk with a bunch of Ravagers. And the Ravagers are probably my favorite Abathur unit right now. They are so strong and so much fun to play. They're so much more useful after the Blizzard rebalance and the buffs to them. Yeah, I highly recommend you try them out if you have not done so already. Propagator is now making its way here, and will end up taking some damage from these toxic nests.
Our allies
actually,
are in combat.
it's aggroing the toxic nests. There's a 500 IQ propagator. It's going for the toxic nest. The toxic nest is invulnerable, so it can't die. So the propagator is basically killing itself on the toxic nest. It is so weird.
Our forces, our allies are
Yeah, that is just I don't know what was going on there. That propagator basically wanted to kill itself on the toxic nest. A little bit more damage on this Ravager, but you see, like, as soon as it casts its Corrosive Bile and the Bile hits, it just basically regenerates its HP, because it gets its Life Leech as well from its skills, and that's what makes the Ravagers really good. It's just that their ability to regenerate their HP from Life Leech just makes them so much more useful and a lot more tankier as well. The change that was actually made that made the Ravagers very good is the increase of the Corrosive Bile damage and the splash radius. It makes the biles a little bit more easy to hit, and it's much more useful now than it used to be before. Abathur is going to continue pushing into this enemy base here. He wants to try and clear out the rest of these structures. There are a few missile turrets here, more biles right on top of these missile turrets. This area has been completely cleared now, which means that the propagators will only spawn either from the middle of the map or from the third Void Thrasher spawn location. Yeah, this random propagator is just basically running through and basically killing itself on the toxic nests, which is really odd. I semi-know why that happens, but I'm not really sure why also. It's just really odd. We have more biles onto this one random propagator. This one will also end up getting killed off. Tychus, Crooked Sam, and Rattlesnake are already ready to go. The Odin is out. No big red button upgrade though, which is somewhat surprising. Tychus, I think, may have forgotten to get that upgrade, which is going to make it a little bit more difficult for Tychus to actually push in, because he doesn't really have access to one of the strongest abilities with the Odin, which is the big red button. And that nuke would have basically cleared out this entire base, or at least cleared the just die stacks from all of these enemy units in one fell swoop. There's another random propagator over here, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be moving towards the top. Yeah, it's just... what's going on over there? There's another propagator that spawned over here. Abathur, Tychus, and also we'll have to pull back a little bit. A few more Corrosive Biles right on top of these propagators, doing a good amount of damage here. This one is just going to go and commit Sudoku and basically kill itself on these toxic nests, which is, again, really odd. A few more propagators over here, and again, some more Corrosive Biles. And just see the targeting on those Biles. Very nice targeting there. Kills off one of those propagators. Another one will also end up taking a good chunk of damage. And now that'll just end up walking right into the rest of Abathur's toxic nest and also dying to some of the bile casts. A propagator over here as well that also seems to be hell-bent on killing itself to these toxic nests, so that will also end up dying. And now Abathur and Tychus have to go and engage this next attack wave. And engage the attack wave they will. Attack wave does end up getting cleared off as well. 2 propagators are coming in from the northern side, and this is Tychus' chance to actually start putting this random ghost here with some Avenger stacks as well. That is being a little bit annoying, but that does end up getting cleared out too. These propagators will probably end up aggroing the rest of these toxic nests and will end up dying as well. So all Tychus has to do is Abathur Buddy to start pushing in with him, and they will end up clearing that out as well. Production-wise, yeah, no big red button upgrade. They're rushing their upgrades, which I guess is fine. The big red button upgrade is really, really important. It does give you a free nuke here. Mobius Restraint Matrix right on top of the Hyper Dominator or the Demolition Charge. And yeah, these propagators are just basically spazzing out on the minimap. They're just going to go straight for the Toxic Nest here. And now these Void Thrashers are basically left undefended, and they will end up getting cleaned up by Abathur's army. And as you can see here, that they do actually get the Just Die stacks as well. All that is left now is for these commanders to actually push into the bonus objective area as well and clear out some of the structures there, because that is where propagators can spawn as well. We have another attack wave on the way here. Unfortunately, no toxic nests for Abathur. Abathur's toxic nests are busy clearing out all these propagators on the map. Very nice corrosive vials getting dropped right on top of Amon's army, and that is pretty much the rest of Amon's army completely wiped over here. And now these commanders are basically good to go. I think they probably want to go and deal with some of these propagators here. And this is why clearing out these structures is very, very important. Notice how that one propagator spawned from that one missile turret? If that happens in the middle of a game when you're trying to push in the middle of an engagement, you could end up losing your entire army and getting completely wiped here. A few more demolition charges right on top of these Thors. Thors will end up going down as well. They're getting focus fired down by Tychus, and now Abathur's army is also in position. They're going to be using their corrosive vials and clearing out this one Archangel. They're going to be focusing down that Archangel. Archangel does end up going down. I think this area has been cleared as well, I think. Yes, the area has been completely cleared. That is actually really good. And now, all that is left is, let me just go back to the vision here to clear the next and final objective area. And you can see now, all these propagators will be spawning from the top side. These propagators are just spazzing out onto these toxic nests. Unfortunately, all these toxic nests have been cleaned up by these propagators because there's actually a good chunk of them, and commanders will have to be careful they don't get blindsided. These 2 propagators are going to be making their way here, and since they are, there's a bunch of propagators as well in this enemy base, and they have to be very, very careful with this engagement because they could end up losing a lot of stuff here. The propagators have been cleaned up, which is good. This is basically the green light now for these commanders to start pushing in, and this would have been a lot easier with a nuke available for the Odin. I think Tychus has not gotten that upgrade just yet. Yeah, Tychus might have forgotten that upgrade, which is a very, very important upgrade. But again, now we have 3 propagators coming in from the middle here, and they'll have to be careful. Any one misclick could basically mean they end up losing their entire army. That is the first propagator here. Plasma Blast comes onto Rattlesnake. Tychus, very nice clutch here. Picks up his Outlaws with his medevac pickup. And again, there are a few more propagators. There are 4 propagators right now here. And I think down to 2 maybe? I can't really see where the rest of these propagators are, but this propagator now has picked up the Avenger stack and is moving a lot faster than these commanders were expecting, and it'll end up propagating a good chunk of Abathur's army. There is a very nice clutch of Blinding Cloud, or Disabling Cloud, from Abathur's Viper to keep these propagators away from his army, but that is a lot of carnage right now, and Tychus has to try and deal with these propagators all by himself. He is getting a little bit cornered. Again, medevac pickup does end up saving him, and he will be able to hold a little bit against these propagators, but Abathur's army is getting a little bit too dangerously close. Abathur decides to engage with his Brutalist under the Blinding Cloud, or under the Disabling Cloud, and that actually works reasonably well until one propagator manages to sneak through and will start killing off a good chunk of Abathur's army. Those Ravagers are going to be in a very bad position here because they are going to end up getting killed off by the propagators that were just waiting for them to keep hatching from their eggs, and now we have a huge propagator train over here. Units lost. Tychus has basically only lost Crooked Sam. Abathur has lost a good chunk of his army right now, and there are some locusts as well here with an attack wave right down the middle here. There's also another attack wave that is coming up from the northern side. There's a small siege up here. Actually, this attack wave is really, really massive. and Tychus is trying to push in by himself here. He does use the Odin right now, and will use the medevac pickup to get away from that one propagator that's coming up. But again, Tychus's base is going to be defended by Abathur. That is the expansion cleared, and now there is a huge propagator train moving up. Very luckily, moves up towards the northern side here. There are another bunch of propagators coming up, and Tychus has to go and deal with this thing all by himself. And now, to add more salt to injury, there is a nuke followed by a bunch of propagators over here. Crooked Sun might actually end up getting caught out here because Tychus does not seem to be paying attention. Oh, he is paying attention! Jumps right out of the way of that nuke as well. He airlifts Sam to victory, and now these propagators are going to end up killing the Tychus main base here. 650 HP left onto Sergeant Hammer's fortress, and there are 3 Void Thrashers left. And remember, these Void Thrashers do have just die, and these propagators are just going to go and try and make their way to Abathur's, to Tychus's expansion here. And they are going to end up propagating a good chunk of these SCVs. Tychus lifts up his command center, 400 HP left onto Sergeant Hammer's fortress. So there is a lift up here moving right out of the way, but Abathur cannot lift up any of his stuff, so they have to clear out this thing before the last structure ends up getting cleared out, and that last Void Thrasher is over here as well. And there's one last thing is over there. There's an emergency drop here that Propagator does end up propagating that last bit. Where is last of Abathur's base here? It doesn't really matter because that Void Thrasher does end up going down just before Abathur's last structure goes down, and that is GG. So I just want to have a look at the end game state here. So this Void Thrasher actually goes down with 456 HP on Sergeant Hammer's fortress. So this Void Thrasher has died. Fun fact, there was actually a missile turret over here that these players missed, but that was actually out of vision as well. This is out of sight vision, so it's very possible that Propagator could have been spawned on this side. This is the Propagator that has actually killed off the hatchery. So what happened is that this Void Thrasher went down just before the hatchery went out, and that was actually the victory for these commanders. I don't see any other structures available other than Abathur's Toxic Nest, but I don't think those things prevent defeat of the players. So I think Abathur can still lose even if he has Toxic Nests available on the map. I think that is the way it works. If it's not, do let me know in the comments. But yeah, it does look like this Void Thrasher went down just before that Propagator ended up killing off that last hatchery. And in this area we have Tychus's command center that's just running away from the Propagator train that is coming up his way, which is, you know, again, as you can see, just a huge number of Propagators that were once Tychus's SCVs and his other structures as well.